You're standing in the drugstore skincare aisle, staring at a $12 serum that lists niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, and peptides, the same ingredients in that $120 bottle at the department store. So what's the actual difference? Is it the molecules themselves or something else entirely? I'm Julian Thorne, and I spend my time figuring out where the real value hides in budget beauty. You're listening to Luxury Beauty on a Budget podcast. Quick note before we dive in. Everything you're about to hear is researched, written, and verified by real people, but the voice reading it is AI generated. Just wanted to be upfront about that. If you've been listening for a while, thanks for being here, really. And if you're just finding us, welcome. You're in the right place. We release new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, breaking down how to get real results without the luxury price tag. All right, let's jump into today's episode. The truth is, the gap between cheap and expensive serums usually isn't the active ingredients. It's concentration, molecular engineering, and the supporting cast that keeps those actives stable and working. Once you learn to read labels properly, shopping stops being guesswork and becomes informed curation. This skill takes about 30 minutes to learn and then keeps getting sharper the more you use it. You don't need a chemistry degree, you just need to look past the marketing. So, let's talk about what you'll need before we get started. Knowledge-wise, you should understand basic skincare categories, what a moisturizer does versus a serum versus a treatment. You should know your primary skin concerns, whether that's hydration, barrier repair, or hyperpigmentation. And you need access to product labels, either in person or through online ingredient lists. For tools, keep your smartphone handy to photograph ingredient lists when you're shopping in stores. A calculator app helps when you're doing price per ounce math or figuring out active concentrations. Access to ingredient databases like Cosmetics Info or EWG's Skin Deep makes a huge difference. And keep a notepad or notes app for tracking formulations as you compare products. A few optional extras can take this further. A kitchen scale that measures grams lets you calculate product density. pH test strips in the 4.5 to 7.0 range, you can grab these at aquarium supply stores, help you verify whether acid treatments are actually formulated to work. And understanding your skin's pH baseline gives you a reference point. Now, the first real skill to master is reading the INCI list. That's the International Nomenclature of Cosmetic Ingredients, and it's not random, it's regulated disclosure. Ingredients appear in descending order by weight concentration down to 1%. Below that threshold, manufacturers can list components in any order they want. That creates a gray zone where brands either bury actives or highlight them deceptively. Position matters profoundly. A budget serum listing niacinamide as the third ingredient after water and glycerin likely contains 4 to 10% niacinamide. That's a clinically effective concentration backed by dermatological research. But if that same active appears after the 1% line, typically after preservatives like phenoxyethanol, it's delivering minimal therapeutic benefit. It exists for label appeal, not for results. So, how do you spot that 1% marker? Look for phenoxyethanol, benzyl alcohol, sodium benzoate, potassium sorbate, fragrance, and essential oils. These typically sit at or below 1% concentration. Anything listed after these ingredients is present in trace amounts. If you see a $15 retinol serum that places retinol after fragrance, you're getting maybe 0.01 to 0.05%. That's cosmetically insignificant. You can also calculate the active load yourself. If a 30 milliliter serum contains 5% niacinamide, you're getting 1.5 grams of active ingredient. Compare that to a luxury brand's 15 milliliter bottle at 10% concentration, which also contains 1.5 grams of active but costs 4 times more. The molecular experience might be identical. Here are some quality markers that show up regardless of price. Actives appear in the first 7 ingredients. You see multiple forms of the same ingredient, like hyaluronic acid listed as both sodium hyaluronate and hydrolyzed hyaluronic acid, which suggests meaningful concentration. The formulation includes stabilizers specific to fragile actives like tocopherol with retinol or ferulic acid with L-ascorbic acid. And there's an absence of fragrance and dyes after the actives, which means the formulator prioritized function over sensory manipulation. Texture whispers the truth that marketing obscures. A genuinely concentrated vitamin C serum feels slightly tacky, never watery. Budget brands that try to mimic luxury often add slip agents like dimethicone or cyclomethicone to simulate that silky application without delivering active penetration. Moving on to molecular forms and bioavailability. Not all retinols are created equal. Not all hyaluronic acids penetrate. The molecular form of an active determines whether it's a luxury equivalent powerhouse or just cosmetic decoration. Budget brands sometimes list impressive actives in cheap, unstable, or non-bioavailable forms. Technically, the labeling is honest, but functionally, the product is useless. Let's look at the retinoid hierarchy from most effective to least. Tretinoin is prescription strength. Then you've got retinaldehyde, retinol, retinol retinoate, retinol palmitate, and retinol acetate. A $10 retinol cream using retinol palmitate requires 3 enzymatic conversions before your skin can actually use it as retinoic acid. Conversion efficiency hovers around 20%. Compare that to something like CeraVe Skin Renewing Retinol Serum, check the show notes for a link to the current price, which uses encapsulated pure retinol at an estimated 0.1 to 0.3% concentration, with ceramide support for barrier protection during adaptation. Vitamin C is another ingredient where form matters enormously. L-ascorbic acid is the gold standard. It needs a pH between 2.0 and 3.5, it's water-soluble, and it's highly unstable. It's effective at 10 to 20%. You want opaque packaging and supporting antioxidants like vitamin E and ferulic acid. It's inexpensive to formulate, but really difficult to stabilize, so budget brands often fail here. The result is oxidized, yellowed product within weeks.
Sodium ascorbyl phosphate, on the other hand, is water-soluble, stable at a pH of 6 to 7, and converts to L-ascorbic acid enzymatically. It requires 3 to 5 times higher concentration than LAA for comparable results, but it's a reasonable trade-off for stability. Ascorbyl glucoside is also stable and gentle, though it requires enzymatic conversion and works slowly. It suits sensitive skin well. Tetrahexyldecyl ascorbate is oil-soluble, stable, and expensive. It's rare in budget formulations, but if you see it in a cheap product, check the concentration carefully. It should appear within the first 7 ingredients. Hyaluronic acid molecular weight matters enormously too. High molecular weight, 1,000 to 2,000 kilodaltons, sits on the skin's surface and provides temporary plumping. Low molecular weight, below 50 kilodaltons, and hydrolyzed hyaluronic acid penetrate the stratum corneum and deliver genuine hydration. Quality budget products list multiple molecular weights across the INCI list, suggesting a multi-weight complex engineered for layered hydration. When you're evaluating peptides, look for specificity. The word peptides means nothing on its own. Palmitoyl tripeptide 1, palmitoyl tetrapeptide 7, acetyl hexapeptide 8, copper tripeptide 1, these are distinct molecules with different mechanisms. Budget brands listing generic peptides without specificity likely use trace amounts of the cheapest options, often dipeptides with minimal research support. Quality formulations specify which peptides and list them above the 1% line. Niacinamide's optimal concentration range is 2 to 10%. Below 2%, you're getting moisturization without barrier repair, sebum regulation, or hyperpigmentation benefits. Above 10% risks irritation without additional benefit, and it also costs more to formulate. A well-positioned budget brand hits 5% niacinamide, balancing efficacy and economics. You can cross-reference this with clinical research published in journals like the British Journal of Dermatology, which consistently demonstrates results at 5% concentration. Now, let's talk about formulation support systems and penetration enhancers. An active ingredient floats uselessly without delivery architecture. The formulation matrix, the supporting cast of emulsifiers, humectants, occlusives, and penetration enhancers, determines whether a molecule reaches target depth or evaporates on contact.
Ceramide complexes should mimic the skin's natural ratios. You want ceramides, cholesterol, and fatty acids in a 3:1:1 or 1:1:1 ratio. Cheap moisturizers listing a single ceramide type, like ceramide 3 or ceramide NP, without cholesterol and fatty acids deliver incomplete barrier repair. Compare this to the Ordinary's natural moisturizing factors, which includes multiple ceramides, cholesterol, amino acids, and fatty acids. Comprehensive barrier support for under $8 per ounce. The formulation approach rivals CeraVe moisturizing cream, which established the ceramide dominant blueprint. Penetration enhancers signal serious formulation science. Propanodiol is derived from corn, facilitates active penetration, has humectant properties, and replaces propylene glycol. Its presence suggests modern formulation standards. Caprylic capric triglyceride is a lightweight emollient that enhances lipophilic active delivery, like retinol and fat-soluble vitamins. Dimethyl isosorbide is a powerful penetration enhancer for water-soluble actives. It's expensive, so it's rare in budget products, but worth seeking out. Ethoxydiglycol is a solvent and penetration enhancer for challenging actives. It's common in budget formulations because it's cost-effective. Stabilization systems protect fragile actives. Vitamin C degrades rapidly via oxidation, metal ion exposure, and light. Quality budget formulations include chelating agents like disodium EDTA or sodium phytate to bind destabilizing metal ions. They include antioxidant support like vitamin E, tocopherol, or ferulic acid to slow oxidation. They include pH buffers like sodium citrate or citric acid to maintain optimal pH ranges. And they use opaque or amber packaging to block UV degradation. Examine the emulsion system too. Lecithin, ceramides, and phospholipids create lamellar structures that mimic the skin's natural organization, enhancing delivery and compatibility. Cheap silicone-heavy formulations with dimethicone as the third ingredient prioritize sensory payoff over penetration. The product feels luxurious but sits on the surface. Pay attention to solubility matching. Water-soluble actives like niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, and peptides need water-based vehicles. Oil-soluble actives like retinol, vitamin E, and ceramides require lipid carriers. A budget serum trying to deliver retinol in a watery gel base lacks an appropriate vehicle. The active likely sits suspended, unstable, and unavailable. Fermented ingredients like galactomyces ferment filtrate, bifida ferment lysate, or lactobacillus ferment indicate advanced formulation, borrowed from K-Beauty innovation. Fermentation breaks molecules into smaller components with enhanced penetration. These aren't expensive to source. Manufacturers in Korea and Japan produce them at scale, but their presence signals formulation sophistication. Next, let's calculate cost per active and price per ounce. Luxury isn't always waste. Sometimes you're paying for genuine concentration and research-backed formulation. Other times, you're funding celebrity endorsements and boutique packaging. Mathematical transparency reveals the difference. Here's how to calculate cost per active. First, identify the active ingredient concentration from the label or manufacturer disclosure. Then, calculate total active weight by multiplying product volume in milliliters by concentration as a decimal. That gives you active grams. Divide product price by active grams, and you get cost per gram of active. Let's try an example.
A 30 milliliter budget serum with 5% niacinamide costs $12. 30 milliliters times 0.05 equals 1.5 grams of niacinamide. $12 divided by 1.5 grams equals $8 per gram of niacinamide. Now, the luxury comparison. A 15 milliliter prestige serum with 10% niacinamide costs $65. 15 milliliters times 0.10 equals 1.5 grams of niacinamide. $65 divided by 1.5 grams equals $43 per gram of niacinamide. Identical active payload. The luxury version costs 5.4 times more per gram of functional ingredient. Unless the prestige formulation includes proprietary penetration systems or clinical-grade supporting actives, you're paying for brand equity. Price per ounce baseline analysis exposes false economy. A $6 drugstore moisturizer in a 1.7-ounce jar costs $3.53 per ounce. A $35 Korean cream in a 3.38-ounce jar costs $10.36 per ounce. But examination reveals the K-Beauty formula includes ceramides, peptides, and adenosine at therapeutic concentrations, while the drugstore version offers basic emollients and fragrance. The luxury price delivers 3 to 4 times the active load. Sometimes spending more per ounce nets better cost per active. Watch out for red flags that inflate price without value. Proprietary blend names like Youth Renewal Complex or Marine Miracle Biotechnology without INCI disclosure mean you're paying for poetry, not chemistry. Essential oils and botanical extracts dominating the formula above actives is aromatic theater, masking weak active concentration. Jar packaging for light and air-sensitive actives like vitamin C and retinol means the formulation is already degrading before you even purchase it. And clinical results without published methodology, sample size, or third-party verification should make you skeptical.
Green flags signal value. Airless pump or opaque tube packaging for oxidation-prone actives is good. A manufacturer listing active percentages on their website or confirming concentrations through customer service is excellent. Generic or minimal branding with a focus on formulation details shows priorities in the right place. And manufacturing origin in South Korea, Japan, France, or Germany, where cosmetic regulations enforce quality standards, is reassuring. Some budget European pharmacy brands, La Roche-Posay, Bioderma, Aven, price comparably to American drugstore products, but formulate to stricter EU cosmetic regulations. Their active concentrations and stability systems often match or exceed prestige American brands. Geography matters. A €15 French pharmacy serum imported to the US becomes a $22 affordable luxury that still outperforms $65 department store alternatives. Now let's recognize manufacturing quality markers and supply chain transparency. Where a product is made often predicts formulation quality as reliably as ingredient lists. Cosmetic manufacturing isn't uniform. Regulatory frameworks, quality control standards, and ingredient sourcing vary dramatically by region. South Korean manufacturing has become synonymous with advanced formulation at accessible price points. Korean cosmetic manufacturers often produce for both domestic brands and Western prestige labels, resulting in shared supply chains. An $18 Korean essence and a $150 luxury serum may emerge from the same factory, with only minor formulation tweaks and packaging differences. Look for Made in Korea on budget products. It's a reliability signal. Japanese manufacturing prioritizes minimalism and stability. Japanese sunscreen technology remains globally unmatched. Bior UV Aqua-Rich Watery Essence delivers broad-spectrum SPF 50+, PA4+'s protection in an elegant, lightweight vehicle for around $12 per 50 milliliter bottle. Western equivalents with comparable cosmetic elegance cost $30 to $45. The formulation sophistication reflects decades of UV filter innovation unavailable in FDA-regulated U.S. products. European Union cosmetic regulations ban over 1,400 ingredients, compared to the FDA's ban of approximately 11. EU-manufactured products undergo more stringent safety and efficacy screening. French pharmacy brands like La Roche-Posay and Aven sell thermal spring water-based formulations with minimal ingredient lists and high active concentrations. True less is more formulation philosophy.
Chinese manufacturing has evolved dramatically. GMP-certified facilities, good manufacturing practices, in China now produce for major Western brands. The stigma persists, but the reality has transformed. Look for specific GMP certification or third-party auditing disclosure. A budget Chinese brand listing its facility's ISO 22716 certification demonstrates quality control comparable to European standards. U.S. manufacturing varies wildly. Drugstore giants like CeraVe and Cetaphil maintain rigorous standards with dermatologist development partnerships. Smaller indie brands may use contract manufacturers, third-party facilities that produce formulations for multiple brands. Quality depends entirely on which manufacturer they've contracted. Research the brand's transparency. Do they list their manufacturing partner? Do they provide batch testing results? Opacity often hides corners cut. Look for third-party testing and certifications. Leaping Bunny or PETA cruelty-free certification verifies no animal testing throughout the supply chain. EWG verified means ingredients are screened against Environmental Working Group standards. Made Safe certification provides third-party verification of non-toxic ingredients. And Cosmos or EcoCert organic certification means natural or organic formulations meet European standards. Ask supply chain transparency questions. Does the brand disclose raw ingredient suppliers? Can you trace the origin of key botanical extracts? Does the brand publish stability testing data or expiration methodology? Are batch numbers printed for traceability? Cheap products from transparent brands outperform expensive ones from opaque ones. The Ordinary built an empire on radical transparency, listing exact active percentages, explaining formulation choices, disclosing limitations and incompatibilities. Their $6.70 niacinamide 10% plus zinc 1% serum contains precisely what it claims, manufactured in Canada with disclosed supply chain standards. Prestige brands often refuse to confirm active percentages even under direct inquiry. Let's test sensory markers that indicate formula integrity. Texture, scent, and absorption behavior reveal formulation quality before you even check efficacy. Your sensory experience provides real-time formulation feedback if you know what to look for. Start with texture consistency. Squeeze the same product from the same bottle at room temperature over multiple days. Quality formulations maintain consistent viscosity, color, and behavior. Cheap emulsions separate, change texture with temperature fluctuations, or develop watery layers. An unstable emulsion suggests inadequate preservative systems or improper emulsifier ratios. The actives within are likely degrading similarly. Track scent profile evolution. Open a fresh product and note its scent. Return to it monthly. Oxidation smells rancid, a fatty, crayon-like odor indicating lipid degradation. Vitamin C formulations turning yellow or brown have oxidized. The L-ascorbic acid has become dehydroascorbic acid with reduced efficacy. Quality budget brands use airless pumps and antioxidant systems to slow this inevitable decay. Fragrance absence is a quality signal. Fragrance and essential oils serve one purpose, making products sensorially appealing. They add nothing therapeutic and frequently triggers sensitization. When budget brands skip fragrance despite market pressure for luxurious scent, they're prioritizing formulation integrity over sales psychology. Fragrance costs money, adds potential irritation, and can destabilize pH-sensitive actives. Its absence saves budget that can instead fund active concentration. Pay attention to absorption behavior patterns. Watery serums that disappear instantly are likely high in alcohol or lacking humectant and occlusive support. The initial feel is refreshing, but moisture evaporates rapidly. That's cheap hydration theater. Tacky, slightly sticky serums signal genuine humectant concentration. Glycerin, hyaluronic acid, panthenol. The tackiness disappears under moisturizer, but indicates water-binding molecules present in therapeutic amounts. Silicone-heavy, velvety slip feels luxurious and applies beautifully, but check if actives precede dimethicone. If silicones dominate the first half of the INCI list, you're getting sensory satisfaction with minimal treatment. Slight pilling under subsequent layers isn't necessarily a flaw. High molecular weight polymers like hyaluronic acid and cardamers sometimes pill when combined with silicones or certain emollients. Adjust application timing or layer order. You can pH test acid treatments. Purchase pH test strips in the 4.0 to 7.0 range from aquarium supply stores for around $6. Effective L-ascorbic acid requires pH 2.0 to 3.5. BHAs, like salicylic acid, work optimally at pH 3.0 to 4.0. AHAs, like glycolic acid and lactic acid, perform best at pH 3.5 to 4.0. Test your budget acids. If the pH is above 5.0, the product is ineffective regardless of ingredient claims. The active exists in the wrong ionization state to penetrate. Watch for color stability. Vitamin C serums should remain clear to very pale yellow. Dark yellow or amber indicates oxidation. Retinol products shouldn't darken significantly. Niacinamide formulations remain white or clear indefinitely. Color change means chemical change. The molecules you purchased have transformed into different, less effective compounds.
The sensory language of efficacy takes time to learn. After testing dozens of budget serums, you'll distinguish between formulations engineered for performance versus those designed to feel expensive. The former may feel austere, unscented, minimal slip, slightly tacky. The latter seduce your senses while delivering minimal actives. Train yourself to appreciate functional texture over cosmetic elegance, and suddenly 70% of luxury products reveal themselves as sensory manipulation priced at $90 per ounce. Now let's cross-reference clinical research and evidence-based concentration standards. Cosmetic marketing promises miracles. Clinical research documents incremental, measurable improvement under controlled conditions. Evidence-based concentration standards separate real formulations from cosmetic fairy tales. Niacinamide clinical threshold is well established. Research published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology and British Journal of Dermatology consistently demonstrates barrier improvement, hyperpigmentation reduction, and sebum regulation at 2 to 5% concentration. Studies using 10% show similar results with slightly higher irritation risk. Any product claiming niacinamide benefits with the ingredient appearing after the 1% line is statistically unlikely to deliver. Retinol effectiveness concentrations break down like this. 0.01 to 0.03% provides minimal irritation and minimal benefit. Think of it as retinol training wheels suitable for extremely sensitive skin. 0.1 to 0.3% is where clinical efficacy begins. You'll see visible improvement in fine lines, texture, and tone after 12 to 16 weeks of consistent use. 0.5 to 1.0% delivers prescription strength results with more irritation risk, comparable to low-dose tretinoin. Above 1.0% is rarely necessary or beneficial. It increases irritation without proportional efficacy increase. Budget products rarely disclose retinol percentages. Use positioning as a proxy. If retinol appears in the first 7 ingredients and the product causes mild irritation during acclimation, it likely contains 0.1% or higher. Peptide complexity requires research. Studies on palmitoyl pentapeptide 4, also called matrixyl, show improvement in wrinkle depth at 3 to 8% concentration. Acetyl hexapeptide 8, also called arginine, demonstrates measurable muscle relaxation effects at 5 to 10% concentration. Most budget serums listing peptides contain 0.01 to 0.5%. That's not clinically meaningless, but it's substantially weaker than study concentrations. The peptide's molecular weight determines penetration capability. Smaller peptides like dipeptides and tripeptides penetrate more readily than larger ones.
Hyaluronic acid has weight-specific research backing. High molecular weight, 1,000 to 2,000 kilodaltons, provides surface hydration, film formation, and temporary plumping. Medium molecular weight, 50 to 1,000 kilodaltons, penetrates the upper epidermis and provides sustained hydration. Low molecular weight, below 50 kilodaltons, reaches deeper epidermal layers, though some studies suggest inflammatory response in sensitive skin. Hydrolyzed hyaluronic acid, below 10 kilodalton fragments, provides maximum penetration with potential for deep hydration or irritation depending on skin sensitivity. Quality formulations include a molecular weight spectrum, high, medium, and low combined for surface and depth hydration. Budget products listing only hyaluronic acid or sodium hyaluronate without specification likely use high molecular weight because it's the cheapest option. Vitamin C, specifically L-ascorbic acid, has a gold standard. Clinical photoprotection and collagen synthesis stimulation occur at 10 to 20% concentration in a pH 2.0 to 3.5 solution. The formulation is inherently unstable. Even well-formulated products oxidize within 3 to 6 months after opening. Budget vitamin C products attempting stability through derivative forms like sodium ascorbyl phosphate or magnesium ascorbyl phosphate require 3 to 5 times higher concentration for comparable results. That's an acceptable trade-off for stability and gentleness. Sunscreen filter concentration minimums are regulated. Zinc oxide provides broad-spectrum protection at 10 to 25%. Titanium dioxide provides UVB protection at 5 to 10% with less UVA coverage. Avobenzone maxes out at 3% in the US due to FDA limits, and it's unstable without stabilizers. Octinoxate maxes out at 7.5% and requires combination with UVA filters. Modern Japanese and Korean filters like Uvenil A+, Tinosorb S, and Uvenil 150 provide superior protection at lower concentrations but are unavailable in FDA-regulated U.S. products. U.S. drugstore sunscreens are legally limited to approved filters and concentrations. Innovation has been effectively frozen since the 1990s. Asian-manufactured sunscreens access next-generation filters with better UVA protection, lighter texture, and minimal white cast. A Korean sunscreen at $15 often outperforms an American $40 luxury formula because the underlying filter technology is superior. Watch for red flag concentration claims. Contains retinol without a percentage could mean 0.001%. Clinically proven without published methodology or peer review is meaningless. Percentage claims for proprietary blends can't be verified for individual component concentration, and comparisons to prescription products without acknowledging concentration differences are misleading. Search PubMed, the Journal of Clinical and Aesthetic Dermatology, and cosmetic science publications for ingredient-specific research. When brands cite studies, Verify that study concentration matches their product's formulation. Marketing frequently references research using 10% niacinamide, while the actual product contains 2%. Let's evaluate formulation philosophy and brand transparency practices. Some budget brands compete on price through quality reduction. Others compete through supply chain efficiency, minimal marketing spend, and direct-to-consumer models that bypass traditional retail markups. Brand philosophy predicts long-term reliability more than any single product review. DCM and The Ordinary pioneered radical transparency in budget beauty. They list exact active percentages, explain formulation limitations, disclose ingredient incompatibilities, and price products around $4 to $10 per treatment serum. Their business model eliminated traditional marketing spend, celebrity endorsements, and luxury packaging. The savings fund higher active concentrations. Their hyaluronic acid 2% plus B5 serum, check the show notes for a link to the current price, delivers multiple molecular weights of hyaluronic acid plus panthenol, vitamin B5, for under $8. That's a formulation approach matching department store serums at 1/8 the cost. CeraVe and Cetaphil emerged from dermatological clinics as professional recommendations for barrier-compromised skin. Their formulations prioritize ceramides, minimal irritation potential, and broad skin type compatibility. Marketing budgets remain modest compared to prestige competitors. A CeraVe AM facial moisturizing lotion with SPF 30, ceramides, niacinamide, and hyaluronic acid costs around $15 for 3 ounces. That's less than $5 per ounce for a complete morning routine in one product. Dermatologists recommend these brands not because they're glamorous, but because formulations work reliably across sensitive, compromised, and reactive skin. K-beauty innovation brands like CosXR, Purito, Instree, and Benton built reputations on ingredient simplicity and high active concentration. CosXR's advanced snail 96 mucin power essence contains 96% snail secretion filtrate, glycoproteins, hyaluronic acid, glycolic acid naturally present in snail mucin, for around $18 per 100 milliliters. The texture is austere, viscous, slightly stringy, unscented, but the formulation delivers measurable hydration and barrier support.
Ask questions that reveal brand values. Does the brand list active percentages anywhere? Website, customer service, product inserts. How does the brand respond to formulation criticism or reformulation demands? Does the brand invest more in packaging or formulation? Is the brand transparent about manufacturing location and ingredient sourcing? Does the brand educate consumers about ingredient limitations and realistic expectations? e.l.f. Cosmetics operates on democratic luxury. They deliver trend-responsive formulations at $3 to $12 price points with cruelty-free certification. Some products are legitimately excellent. Their poreless putty primer mimics Tatcha's silk canvas at 1/10 the price. Others prioritize aesthetics over performance. The brand's willingness to reformulate based on feedback and maintain clean beauty standards despite tight margins signals genuine commitment rather than greenwashing theater. Avoid brands that use proprietary blend language to hide ingredient concentrations. Avoid brands that make disease treatment claims. Anti-aging is legal marketing language. Treats melasma is an illegal medical claim. Avoid brands that rely heavily on influencer partnerships and affiliate marketing without formulation transparency. Avoid brands that reformulate frequently without disclosure or version numbering, changing formulation while keeping packaging identical. And avoid brands that refuse to answer concentration questions from consumers. Price correlates imperfectly with quality because luxury brands price for aspiration, not formulation cost. A prestige brand's $350 face cream may contain $40 worth of ingredients, $60 in packaging, and $250 allocated to marketing, retail placement, and profit margin. A cheaper $45 budget brand cream may contain $30 worth of ingredients, $5 in packaging, and $10 in margin. The cheaper product delivers more active ingredient per dollar despite inferior sensory experience. Train yourself to ignore brand narrative and focus on formulation specifics. Some of the most effective serums arrive in utilitarian bottles with minimal branding, all resources directed to what's inside rather than what's printed outside. Let's go over some pro tips and common mistakes. Here's an advanced label reading technique. Photograph ingredient lists of both budget and luxury versions of the same product type, vitamin C serum, retinol cream. Compare them side by side at home. You'll often discover the first 10 to 12 ingredients are nearly identical, with only the supporting cast differing. The functional core is the same. You're paying premium prices for minor texture refinements.
Learn batch code dating. Many products print batch codes that decode to manufacturing date. Websites like checkcosmetic.net and checkfresh.com decode these. A vitamin C serum manufactured 18 months before purchase has already degraded significantly, even unopened. Oxygen exposure through imperfect packaging seals drives oxidation. Buy products with recent manufacturing dates, especially for unstable actives. Common mistake: chasing concentration maximums. More isn't automatically better. A 20% vitamin C serum isn't twice as effective as a 10% one. It's more likely to irritate while delivering marginally increased benefit. Niacinamide above 10% offers no additional efficacy. Formulation synergy matters more than any single active percentage. A 5% niacinamide serum with ceramides, panthenol, and NAG, N-acetylglucosamine, outperforms an isolated 10% niacinamide solution. Be aware of pH incompatibility. Layering acids with low pH immediately before peptides or niacinamide, which work optimally at pH 5 to 7, degrades efficacy of the latter. Wait 10 to 15 minutes between pH-divergent products or use them at different times of day. Budget routines maximize efficacy through intelligent sequencing, not product volume. Storage extends budget product lifespan. Refrigerate vitamin C serums, retinols, and products with botanical extracts. Cool, dark storage slows degradation. A $12 serum, properly stored, lasts 6 to 9 months. The same product left on a sunny bathroom shelf oxidizes in 8 weeks. Cost per use drops dramatically with proper storage. Mistake: assuming organic or natural equals quality. Natural and organic are marketing terms with minimal regulatory definition in cosmetics. 100% natural cream containing high concentrations of essential oils may be more irritating than a synthetic formulation with proven actives. Judge ingredients individually, not category labels. Petroleum-derived ingredients aren't inherently inferior to plant-derived ones. It's molecular structure and formulation that determines performance. Practice patch testing discipline. Even thoroughly researched budget products deserve patch testing. Apply to your inner forearm or behind your ear for 48 hours before facial use. Cheap doesn't mean unsafe, but individual sensitivity varies unpredictably. A product with excellent ingredients may still trigger your specific allergies or sensitivities. Now, let's tackle some frequently asked questions. How can you tell if a cheap beauty product has effective active ingredient concentrations? Check ingredient position in the INCI list. Actives should appear within the first 7 to 10 ingredients, ideally before preservatives and fragrance, which typically sit at or below 1% concentration. Multiple forms of the same ingredient, like sodium hyaluronate and hydrolyzed hyaluronic acid listed separately, suggest meaningful therapeutic concentration. Contact the brand directly to request percentage disclosure. Transparent brands provide this information readily. Cross-reference positioning against clinical research thresholds. Niacinamide works at 2 to 5%. Vitamin C requires 10 to 20% L-ascorbic acid. Retinol shows efficacy starting at 0.1%. When brands refuse concentration disclosure but price products affordably, the active concentration is likely on the lower therapeutic end, functional but not maximum strength. Are drugstore products made in Korea or Japan higher quality than U.S. manufactured budget products? Manufacturing origin correlates with formulation approach rather than absolute quality. Korean and Japanese manufacturers typically emphasize elegant texture, innovative ingredients like ferments, peptides, and botanical extracts, and minimal irritation potential. U.S. manufacturers often prioritize active concentration and clinical dermatological backing. A Korean essence might deliver superior sensory experience with gentler actives, while a U.S. therapeutic cream might feel austere but contain higher retinol or acid concentrations. Both can be excellent. Consider your priorities. Asian manufactured sunscreens definitively outperform U.S. drugstore SPF products because FDA approval limitations prevent American brands from accessing superior UV filters available in Asian and European markets. For sunscreen specifically, choose Korean or Japanese formulations regardless of price point.
Do cheap beauty products without fragrance work better than scented versions? Fragrance serves zero therapeutic purpose and frequently causes sensitization, especially in leave-on products. Unscented formulations redirect budget that would fund fragrance compounds toward active ingredients instead. Additionally, fragrance can destabilize pH-sensitive actives like L-ascorbic acid or interfere with preservative systems. A cheap, unscented serum often outperforms a comparably priced scented one because formulation priorities differ. The former optimizes for efficacy, the latter optimizes for sensory appeal and mass-market palatability. Essential oils function as fragrance despite natural origin. They're often more allergenic than synthetic fragrance and offer no skincare benefit at the concentrations used. Fragrance-free formulations may still have mild ingredient odor. Niacinamide has a distinctive scent. Some peptides smell faintly sulfuric. This indicates active presence rather than formulation weakness. How do you compare price per active between budget and luxury products accurately? Calculate total active ingredient weight by multiplying product volume by active concentration if disclosed. A 30 milliliter serum with 5% niacinamide contains 1.5 grams of active ingredient. Divide product price by active grams to get cost per gram of functional ingredient. For products without disclosed percentages, estimate concentration based on INCI positioning. Ingredients listed 3rd through 7th typically range from 2% to 10% concentration in water-based formulations. Compare identical active forms. Don't compare L-ascorbic acid concentration to ascorbyl glucoside concentration. They have different potencies and require different amounts for equivalent results. Consider supporting ingredients. A $15 serum with 5% niacinamide, ceramides, and panthenol delivers more comprehensive barrier support than a $12 serum with isolated 10% niacinamide. Calculate complete formulation value, not just hero active concentration, for genuine comparison. The space between ingredient list and skin transforms with knowledge. You've learned to decode INCI positioning, calculate cost per active, identify molecular forms that determine bioavailability, recognize formulation support systems, and distinguish brand transparency from marketing opacity. Spotting quality ingredients in cheap beauty products distills to methodical analysis, concentration thresholds, pH requirements, stabilization systems, manufacturing origin, and evidence-based research standards.
Budget products perform at luxury levels when formulation prioritizes actives over aesthetics, when brands value transparency over mystique, when you understand that a $12 serum with clinically effective concentration delivers identical molecular experiences to its $90 prestige counterpart. The skill isn't spotting expensive ingredients, it's identifying genuine performance markers hidden beneath unremarkable packaging. Your bathroom shelf transforms from price hierarchy to curated efficacy. The most luxurious products are the ones that actually work, regardless of what they cost. Thanks for listening to this episode of Luxury Beauty on a Budget podcast. We're back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with new episodes that break down ingredients, formulations, and smart shopping strategies. If you got something out of this one, I'd really appreciate it if you left a 5-star rating and a quick review. It's genuinely how other people find the show, and it makes a bigger difference than you think. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe or follow so you get notified the second a new episode drops. I'll see you in the next one.